Hi, Dom.
Hey Mike, what's up? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. And yourself?
I am doing awesome. It is definitely springtime here. It's you could not ask for a more gorgeous day in Portland right now.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think it's starting to take that turn. We're finally, I guess, seeing some spring. I don't want to say that too,
Yeah,
because you never know,
well, for your
especially
neck of the woods, for New England, it's always an uncertain prospect.
it is. And believe me, just like they always say, wait a minute if you don't like the weather. But but yeah, it's like today is a little dreary, but yesterday was beautiful. So I think we are starting to see a turn now. Where
Uh, okay, get this. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
right,
There is no rain in the forecast for this foreseeable week.
okay,
That is rare for spring. This is like bizarre.
yeah, and in Portland too. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That I
But at least
mean,
we're getting our garden ready.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah, that and your goats too. You.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have a feeling there'll be some goat news this summer, but we'll
Nice,
see.
nice. That would be pretty sweet because we need to see more of the goats. The goats are cool.
But as much as I would like to talk about the goats, we're here to talk about the 1988 film Heathers.
Oh, we're going to talk about a movie. Awesome.
It's funny. I kept calling this the Heathers, and
Yeah.
Lisa kept reminding me it's just Heathers.
Well, to tell you the truth, I think I always called because well, maybe I don't know. I think I have. I think I did put the in there.
I don't know why that seems so naturally right, but it does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I they are kind of. I mean, the band that is behind you are the
Mhm.
Heathers, even though one of them is not a Heather by name,
Nope, nope.
but
But
everybody
anyway,
else, yes.
for those of you who have not seen the movie, which why are you watching us if you haven't seen this movie? Go
Yeah,
watch this movie.
watch the movie.
But it's a story of Heather's. It's a social clique in high school. Basically, it's Mean Girls. It's
Yeah,
Mean Girls from the 80s.
yeah, it's the earlier version of Mean Girls. Yeah.
And then introduced into this high school is social misfit JD, played by Christian Slater,
Yes. Yeah.
who basically is a serial killer,
Psychopath.
really, to be honest about it. And and he starts doing these things with the help of one of the Heathers, but more specifically Veronica,
Right. Right.
played by Winona Ryder.
Yes.
Um,
And very well played by
very
Winona
well
Ryder
played.
too. Yeah.
And making these murders look like suicides.
Yeah. And before we even go too far, I want to say this was recommended to us. It was actually recommended to us by Vicky. Shout out to Vicky.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Thank you, Vicky.
yeah, thank you for recommending this because this is a movie that I always really enjoyed. Um, it's a cool movie that probably would never get made
Well,
nowadays
it would never get made right now.
for many reasons. Most most predominantly because look at behind me him carrying the gun. Guns are featured in this, bombs. There's all kinds of crazy stuff with high
And
school.
the thing is like when this was done, like I don't even know if there had been a school shooting.
There had not been no,
And it's like
not since
this
the
movie got
1800s.
made because people were like, that would be insane to think
Yeah.
someone would shoot up a school.
Yeah. Well, not since the 1800s. Believe it or not, there was one. There was a yeah, there was a school shooting in the 1800s, long before Columbine. But of course, we didn't have social media, and we did not have the internet, and that spreads things. And um, the way news is nowadays, they people glorify things that should not be glorified, and that's part of I mean, let's not get into the politics of all of it, but that's a reason. But at
Right.
any
This is a
rate,
movie channel, not a
yes,
political.
exactly. And we want to stay far away from politics. But yeah, yes. You see too much of that in real life. No, Christian Slater, his character is truly a psychopath. And one of the things, and this is a piece of trivia too that I had heard, but which I pretty much like, I remember watching the movie and I remember thinking to myself, he's doing Jack Nicholson. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, well, he was legitimately doing Jack Nicholson. I
Hmm.
mean, he was trying to do him, and I kept thinking to myself, wow, he talks like him. He's imitating him.
He
And
basically channeled Jack Nicholson.
he I guess in real life, he was actually trying to get a hold of Jack Nicholson
Hmm.
to tell him he was, and he said he never managed to get a hold of him. Like Nicholson wouldn't call him back, wouldn't, probably because he was not known enough, or he probably thought, who the hell is this guy? That's keeps
Yeah, I'm
bugging
willing
me.
to bet Nicholson has gotten contacted by so many people over
Oh
the years.
yeah, I'm sure he's just annoyed by a lot of it, but geez, why are they? Why do they keep contacting me? But
But in his
terrible.
defense, Slater does a pitch perfect Nicholson in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, he does, and actually, I mean, it really it was effective. Just the whole, because I mean, he's the cool. The Nicholson character is the cool. Whether it's, you want to look at like James Dean back in the day was the cool teen rebel, and he became the teen rebel in this one for a lot of years for people. That was the epitome of the
Yep.
cool rebel. But yeah, he's very effective. There's some really hysterical things in this movie. I mean, really hysterical elements in this movie, and it's a
I
love
gotta I
story.
gotta say, this is one of the first movies we've done described as a black comedy that I would agree. This is a comedy. This is a
Yeah,
black comedy, but it is funny.
yeah, but also very black, very dark.
Oh,
It's
dark.
it's the darkest. I mean, we're talking about it's actually like, it's not only killings, because they're actually killing people, but it's also like teen suicide is actually really
No one
pushed.
actually kills himself in this movie.
No, but there's no, there's a lot of
It's all like the themes of suicide are there, but they're all murder.
no, they're all murders, and but there's attempts. There's a couple of failed
True,
attempts.
true.
They're granted they're bad attempts, but still they are attempts. Um, yeah, and there's so many things actually to really talk about with this
There's a
movie.
ton of bullying in
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
extremely toxic bullying.
yeah,
This is almost high school as a horror movie.
yeah, absolutely. The ones that are the bullies, both, and it's not just the Heathers, it's
No.
also like these guys. These guys are deplorable. And it's also a very funny part of this too. They're jocks that are just complete, uh, they're a-holes. And they go around the school threatening. I mean, the one of the first ones you see them trying to threaten is actually Christian Slater. They come up to him, and probably because he's attracting the attention of a couple of girls in the movie that they don't like. This scene here is actually them like sticking their faces in his face. Uh, but yeah, like I said, these are two, and they actually provide some real comedy with both with their deaths and just some of the stuff that they silly things that they do. But yeah.
So so this behind me is the scene of these two girls
Oh
going out with
God.
the jocks, and that date entails cow tipping.
Yes. Yeah, the ancient art of cow tipping.
But after this, we see an episode of basically date rape.
Right, right.
And this woman, the blonde, I
Yeah,
believe that's Liz Ann Falk.
right, right.
She said when she rewatched this as an adult and a daughter of her own, she was like,
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of naive when I
Yeah.
did this scene.
Well, and there's actually there's kind of an attempt on both girls because the one girl is kind of, I don't know how much of it is peer pressure and just she kind of goes a little bit along with the date rape because it's like, well, these are the popular jocks. And Winona Ryder pretty much just fights off the other guy and tells him like
Mhm.
back off, you date rapist. But yeah, and that's actually what leads to, because she's talking what she's attracted to Christian Slater. She doesn't even want to be on that date. Her
Nope,
friend, her friend pretty much like forces
coerced her.
her to because of peer pressure and being one of the Heathers, she goes along with it. But she's not happy to be there. And like I said, the whole date is is nothing but them trying to get their way with those two girls. Um,
Hmm.
so and again the Heather to your the blonde, she actually is convincing herself that, oh well, this is a good thing because
Hmm.
we're dating these popular boys. Well, Winona Ryder is just like, no, I don't want any part of it. Um,
Yeah, it's
so
funny. I can remember like when I first watched this movie. I haven't seen this movie in like maybe 20 years. It's been a while.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so when I first saw this movie, it was a dark comedy.
yeah.
And I watch it last week and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. I increasingly find, and I don't know. I know we're all probably much more sensitive than we were
Mhm.
back then. But at the same time, some elements that I see in certain movies that I actually laughed at more like as just being funny. When you see it sometimes now in movies, you think to yourself, "Oh my God, like this is actually really really bad behavior." And and even though it can still be maybe funny as a comedy, at the same time you're still like, this is like really,
Watching this again in this day and age, it's still funny, it still makes an impact. It's a little cringe.
yeah, yeah.
You're like, oh my God, they're joking about this.
Oh yeah. Well, and the other thing is, the guy who wrote it was a video store clerk. He was
Hmm.
working as a video store clerk at the time, and from what they're saying, the original script was
Yeah.
actually, yeah, it was way longer and way more violent. Which when you think of like how could it be? Uh, because it was pretty violent as it was. But but yeah, like I said, I don't know what was cut out, but hope that was probably a really good idea.
Well, the original story, from what I hear,
Yeah,
had the school actually blowing up and killing everyone.
yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
everyone dies. There was even, again, I'm getting this secondhand, what I'm reading on the internet. I heard there was a scene after the school blows up where there's a school dance. They're all in heaven and
Oh,
they're all
yeah,
friends. All the groups are mixing.
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that one of the sentiments was that the only place that people like this could, from all these different, you know, uh, cliques and their little elements, the only place they could actually get along would be in heaven, which I don't think is true. I think there are people that blend when they're in high school. They don't fall into any one clique, but there are a lot of people that just like, because of whatever, for whatever reason, they seriously get into their own little clique and they're happy to stay there. And actually, Veronica Winona Ryder is actually one of the few that, even though she's stuck in the Heathers clique, she's still managing to still be nice to and blend with some of the other characters. Um, but and by the way, the writer Daniel Waters, he wanted Kubrick to direct this,
Mhm.
and that is actually like really like, if he had directed it, it would be a really strange movie, and it should
Oh,
certainly wouldn't
very
be
strange.
no, it wouldn't be the movie that we know and love, that's for sure. But yeah, that's one little piece of trivia. Uh, but yeah,
So Winona Ryder,
yeah.
at the time of filming, was 15 years old.
Oh, I didn't even realize she was that young. Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that either.
Yeah. I mean, I had seen her in a number of, she was in what, Mermaids, and I'm trying to think of the young roles of her. But yeah, I mean, I know she started when she was quite young in films, but I didn't realize she was still that young in this. Um, but
And
yeah,
her agent begged her not to take
oh,
this role.
yeah, I did hear, I did hear
She
that.
thought this would be suicide for her.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that agent got fired, but yeah, I had heard that she actually got on her knees and begged her, like,
Yeah.
please don't do this role. So big mistake that agent was making, because this proved to be her defining moment in movies, I think. I mean, she's done some great stuff, but this one certainly is probably her best. So
No, you know what she's really remembered for? Do you recognize the priest behind me?
um, oh, the actor. I mean,
Yeah,
I know of him as a character actor. I'm
that
trying
is
to think.
Glenn Shaddix that
Okay.
acted with Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. That actually makes a
And
lot of
I would
sense.
argue that Beetlejuice is a more defining role for her, granted, given that it's being remade.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's actually, yeah, there's a whole thing with a musical that that's coming out, which that actually, uh, again, talking about how the movie couldn't be made in today's day and age. Um, that's actually, that's a shot of the musical.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, they actually are doing a musical, which I would love to see. I think it's going to be entertaining. I'm not sure how well it's going to thrive in today's market as a musical, but hey, it's probably going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So and hopefully it will actually, fire up the interest in the, this original one, because people, if you haven't seen this, it's a very fun movie to watch, even though we're talking about how it's darkly comic. The movie is not only very funny, but certainly if it's watched by, it might be even something that would be a good teaching moment for some for some high school kids, as far as like, don't do this behavior, don't do that behavior. But but yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely a fun movie. It's extremely funny, extremely well acted, and like I said, you're gonna enjoy it if you watch it, but be prepared.
Let me point out one way that it has not aged well.
What's that?
When
But
Waters
you mean
wrote
besides
this,
the killings and the date rapes?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Besides all of that,
yeah,
when Waters wrote this, it was almost a reactionary script to what were being the like the John Hughes teen movies, like Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club, feel good movies where these kids in high school got along and they grew and they learned. It was meant to say, no, that's not how high school is. This is how high
yeah,
school is.
yeah, yeah,
And so if you didn't grow up in that environment, if you didn't see those movies first, this movie doesn't have that impact.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great movie
On its own, yeah.
on its own, but in the context of its time, it was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, big shout out to Ohio. Um, this was this was filmed in Ohio, and I guess the Waters was actually like, he was really big on the fact that it was going to be filmed in Ohio. So yeah, big shout out. I guess the high school they used was an Ohio school, and so yeah, that's that's just some little piece of trivia. And speaking of trivia on this, both Jennifer Connelly, big actress, and also Justine Bateman turned this role down. So that's a piece of trivia right there. You wonder why sometimes somebody decides to turn a role down, but I think probably they looked at it as being too violent, too freaky
I
and
think
scary.
most of the actresses that would be in the running for the role of Veronica,
Yeah,
for the role that Winona Ryder played, would probably be underage, and therefore their parents would be
yeah,
like I remember reading that Heather Graham turned the role down.
yeah.
It
I
was
think I
really
did hear
because
that.
her parents did not want her taking the role.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because I mean, not you look at different roles that people have taken since then. Of course, if you're younger, yeah, your parents are going to be more. If you've got good parents, they're probably going to say, "Well, this role probably is something you probably should stay away from."
I can see this role being very questionable.
Yeah. Well, talking about people, one of the people that actually auditioned for this role, and it would have been a completely different movie had he got the part. But for JD, Brad Pitt,
Oh, wow,
yes,
that would be
Brad
different.
Pitt auditioned for the role, and he was basically turned down because they said you're too good looking, you're too nice looking, you're not right for the part. And it would have been a completely different movie. No knock at no knock at Brad Pitt because he was he is and he was a good actor, but Christian Slater owned this role, and you need somebody like a Christian Slater to actually
Yeah,
be JD.
I
So,
love Winona Ryder, but Slater was by far the star
yeah,
in
he
my
was.
mind.
Well, his character was so I don't know. I give an awful lot to because she was strong enough that she fought his. He would have dominated probably any other actress. Winona Ryder had enough fire in her that she was great for counteracting his evilness because the longer he's on the screen, he starts out as being because it's a kind of a cute little love affair at first, and the longer it goes, the worse you see that he's. It's like he wants to actually really kill people. She's thinking that it starts out as a game kind of with her, and then it turns into something much darker. And now she's just like fighting him off and trying to stop him from really killing people, which again is hysterical. So, but and the scene behind me right there is when after the original Veronica is dead and another Veronica is emerging, she takes the hair ribbon and puts it in her hair to say like and her line is there's a new sheriff in town. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's yeah, he is so strong and he's such a force in this movie. Like I said, I you're right. Um he is the probably the strongest character and the character that really defines the movie. If it hadn't been for her doing what she did on screen, which was great, um, he would have probably been too dark. But I think she counteracted him a little bit.
So I completely forgot they gave him some backstory.
Okay.
So behind me, you see his dad.
Oh yes.
And like for as little as we see his dad presents as such a, oh my God, I don't even know what to call him in polite conversation.
Well, he is a corporate asshole in polite conversation.
And so you kind of get in the story a little of the reason why JD is the way he is.
yes, yeah, yeah. Well, even their whole role as father and son is completely twisted, and that is something that we probably should really bring it up to Dad because Christian Slater's character of JD, he's been moved all his life. He's been moved all across the country. because his father basically buys up companies and then shuts them down and puts everybody out of work. And that's he's just kind of like a evil asshole, to put it lightly. His Christian Slater's mother killed herself, and that's the story that he tells, is that he actually witnessed her the last time just before she killed herself. And so he's like got this like weird twisted obsession with killing and suicide because of his mom. And again, his father is no kind of role model at all. They have a very funny interaction when one comes into the room. One acts like they're the he'll say, "How you doing, son?" When it's Christian Slater talking, and he'll say, "Great, Dad," and it's they reverse roles. It's really strange, but yeah, both of them turned out as evil as the father helped to raise them. But yeah, like I said, it's completely dark. Be prepared for that, but be prepared for some good fun.
Now, one nifty thing I learned about this movie was that the writer created unique slang just for this movie because he wanted it to have a timeless quality.
Yeah,
So if people started, saying totally and rad and for sure, that gets dated. But when
yeah,
they're using terms like it's so very,
right, yeah, yeah.
that's going to be uniquely associated with the movie.
Well, yeah, that's one of the cool things. People were using the terminology that they heard in this movie in everyday life. It became like high school jargon and talk.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another fun element. And another thing that's kind of crazy ironic was Shannon Doherty, who's one of the Heathers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she, in fact, that was her that Winona Ryder was taking the hair ribbon from, who was trying to take over as the new Heather. But she actually, she was, I think, 17, something like that, when she did this movie. And even though she later, after 90210 and all those different roles, she kind of like gained a reputation as being kind of like a rebel bad girl and doing naughty stuff. She said her life was actually sheltered at the time, and she said the amount of swearing and the amount of like filthy talk, as she put it, that was in this movie, she said she was constantly blushing.
Oh
So
yeah, I
that's kind
heard
of a
she had a lot of trouble with that.
yeah, yeah. It's when you think of yeah, well, they were young. They were definitely young when they made this, but yeah, the whole thing is kind of crazy. But yeah, like I said, it's oh well. Hey, one of the one of the expressions that was used in this was "F me gently with a chainsaw,"
Yep.
and I believe it's Winona Ryder that says that. But and actually, I don't even remember what the other tool was. Oh, I think it was crowbar. That was the original line, and they decided to not use that line and use it as a chainsaw for whatever reason, because they said a girl wouldn't say a girl wouldn't say crowbar, they would say chainsaw. So somebody can, and it's like, really? Because I think both are pretty bad. And yes, the Catcher in the Rye, speaking of Catcher in the Rye, we were talking about that with Igby. But
Yeah, so here's how dark this is. Like,
yeah,
there were so many people that did not want to be associated with this movie.
right,
So we talked about all the actresses that either turned down the role or their families didn't want them to be in it.
right.
But like they wanted this book, they wanted JD's book, favorite book, to be Catcher in the Rye. JD Salinger was still alive at the time and said no.
Oh yeah, yep, I did hear that.
And so
I,
they went with Moby Dick because it was public domain at that point.
yeah, yeah. Well, believe me, things that are in the public domain become very useful in
Oh
movies.
yeah.
um, and another thing that was actually kind of a funny, a funny element with this, because Winona Ryder was even though they were both going around with this whole idea of supposedly killing kids and making it look like they were suicides, she actually really was believing that they were just playing a joke. He
Mhm.
actually presented it to her that they weren't really going to kill them, and in fact, she didn't use this particular gun. This is more towards the end, but she used a different gun. But when he gave her the gun, he showed her some bullets, and he told her these are German bullets. They're blanks, and she bought it. And he said they're Ich Luge bullets. And I'm probably really screwing up the pronunciation, but um, but the literal pronunciation of that was "I'm lying" in German. and and she goes, "Oh, okay." And so when she actually fired the gun, she and she missed when she because the first one is the jocks, and they the jocks were they were such assholes that they told stories after that night that of the date rape thing, and they made it sound like Winona Ryder had banged both of them, and so she was really angry, and she told Christian Slater, and that's when they decided, okay, well, we're gonna like play a prank on him. That's what Christian Slater convinces her. So she has them meet her out in the middle of nowhere and strip down, and then they come out with guns. She's thinking it's blanks, and they shoot them, and she misses, and he's like, "You missed," and he proceeds to run after the guy and kill him. And that's when she finally realizes, "Oh my God, we're actually killing these guys." But
So do
the
you know what type of gun that is?
the one behind me right now.
Well, the only one I read about is the one Christian Slater used.
Okay,
So I don't know if that's the same one.
I I believe that was the one he was holding, and what it looks like to me, it looks to me like a Smith and Wesson, and it looks like a 357 Magnum. It could be a 44, but
I
yeah,
heard it was a 44.
okay, yep, yep. It's very similar to the Dirty Harry gun. That's
Exactly.
definitely a Smith and Wesson, I would say. So, but I mean, it could be. I guess it could be a Dan Wesson, but I think it's a Smith and Wesson. But people can correct me in the in the comments.
Yeah,
Um,
anyone that knows guns, let us
yeah, yeah.
know.
So yeah, but like I said, she actually really did think that they were playing a prank. The prank actually turned out to be a little bit more, and it actually produces. This is one of the scenes that's actually very funny because the two of them were laying there, and they put a bunch of things that were supposed to be gay material around them, and I can't even remember all the. I think one of them was mineral water. It
Yes,
was,
yes,
was
that
a,
was the funny one.
yes, and it was like mineral water, but
That's what
but
clinched it.
yeah, and when this is the father of the one jock, and he goes, "That's right, my son was gay. I love my gay dead son." That was his tribute at the funeral. But yeah, like I said, it was, they did, because here they are, like two jocks that would love to, just beat up on people. And the very funny aspect of it was they discolored their jock name when they took them out.
But
But
again, another thing in the film that would never be done today.
no, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. But it was a funny element because it was making fun of their crude jock evil mentality, because what they basically, I mean, JD makes a statement at one point. He goes, what good could they like offer the school at this point? He goes, just more date rapes. It was pretty much like the football season's over. So, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's probably true. They weren't nice people. However, again, Winona Ryder didn't mean to kill them, and naturally, you can say they didn't just deserve to be killed, but well, maybe they did. But
Again, it was definitely a statement on high school. I'm really glad my high school experience was not that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems to be such a life trauma that runs throughout society. Like I have no idea what actual high school is like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because, well, first of all, I think everybody's high school. I think high school's probably gotten worse. For kids, I think kids today have it way harder than certainly in my time. My time, it seems like heaven compared to. But there were always kids, depending on where you went to high school and what the high school was like. Different high schools for different generations are a different experience. So it's hard to, it's hard to categorize high school life. I think, you might find people that had like idyllic high schools and high school life, and then you've others are it's a horror show for some. But and one of the things about this movie that I actually was surprised about, because I remembered this movie being very popular.
Mhm.
It didn't make money in the theaters.
It
Uh,
did
it
not make money in the theaters.
yeah, it cost more, I believe, to film than it made money.
Yeah,
So
it didn't get popular until after.
yeah, but man, is it a popular movie, and
Oh,
it's
incredibly popular
yeah.
right now.
I mean, to this day, it's a kind of a cult movie. Naturally, with the musical being brought back, you can tell that it's something that people just truly love.
They
Um,
tried to pitch a television show about 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow, that would have been that would have been a rough sell. Because what are you going to do? Have some high school have some high school murderers there that are lurking in the. I mean, it would have been talking about
Well, I
Buffy. That
mean, let's face it, I don't know where Gossip Girl was set,
yeah.
but what was it, Riverdale? The WB show?
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
I never
Probably.
watched. I think I tried to watch the pilot. I had no interest in it at all, but it did like I want to say 6 or 7 seasons.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Uh,
there's got to be room for murder in high school somewhere.
I get. Well, I mean, you look at Buffy. There were
Mhm.
there were kids dying. There were people dying all over the place in Buffy. But still, I mean, when you're talking about Buffy, they're hunting they're hunting vampires and zombies and demons and whatever. But this was a whole different thing. This is just people that somebody doesn't like, so they get, they decide to just eliminate them because somebody doesn't like them. But yeah, and actually, one of the things in this, one of the Heathers, played by Kim Walker, um, there's a line there about, did you have a brain tumor for breakfast? Um, and this is a real piece of info, but 12 years later, she died of a brain tumor.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Spooky.
that's yeah, that is
Spooky
real
much?
spooky. Yeah, I mean, naturally, nobody could have predicted that, but but yeah, that's one piece that's not so funny. It was actually a real life, but yeah, she actually did die of a brain tumor. So
That's
um,
crazy.
it is crazy. It's just, and of course, it had nothing to do with the line or the movie. It just by sheer coincidence, she did happen to die of a brain tumor. So sadly, that was that was one element. But yeah, uh, I mean, I feel bad even bringing it up because, hey, but no, it's
Yeah,
like I
thanks
said,
for ruining the video.
I know, I know. I had to put a dark,
This was a
dark.
good time.
I know, and I have to ruin it with. Now, one thing that I will say here, and this is something now I'm a big guy, and I've struggled with weight all my life, and I've had times where I conquered it and times I didn't. And this girl here, this is one of the things that I remembered when I watched this movie. All I could think of, you can't really see it behind me, but the shirt says Big Fun, and someone had, after the first death, I believe it was, they decided to do this whole feel good, which I've always, I know there's probably some helping elements whenever something bad happens in a high school, somebody dies, they get these people together to have these rallies and everybody says something good about the persons and, a person that died. But this is part of that deal. And it's, it was what they were calling the whole little rally thing, big fun. As a big person, as somebody that's, struggled with weight, um, I just know myself, like I would never put on a t-shirt or something that actually called attention to myself and I could not, like, I thought to myself, there's no way they could have got this chick to put this t-shirt
I don't
on.
know. I gotta tell you, I've got a friend that is a little on the heavier side,
Yep.
and he's got a t-shirt that is hilarious.
Right.
The t-shirt basically says, "If fat is flavor, I must be delicious."
Wow, I love it. Well,
And
there are people that will really celebrate, but I think this girl was struggling. That's the reason I point that out. I
mm-mm.
mean, she tries to commit suicide at that wearing that t-shirt, but at the same time, I do know that there are people that really celebrate. And of course, as I've gotten older, I have gotten more to the point of like I wouldn't say I don't care because I do, but at the same time, it's like I treat it a lot a lot more lightly than I did when I was younger. I was more sensitive about things like that.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's what I'm saying. I just did in high school. I certainly I certainly wouldn't have put a t-shirt on that called attention to myself. So that element, I remember watching the movie at the time and thinking, "There's no way, like, there's no way that I would do that, and I wouldn't think that anyone else would." But this was a dream, actually, that where the other Heathers were playing croquet, and she was she was buried in the ground, and her head was the target. Uh,
So, so I gotta say, to sum this movie up,
yeah,
it's a great movie.
yeah.
It's not a must-see movie, in my opinion. It's not like one of the 100 films you have to see before you die, but it is a
Uh,
great movie.
no, I don't think it's one of the top movies you must see before you die. Um, but for pure fun, for some people maybe it's not a movie they would want to watch.
With the
So you're
caveat of how traumatic your high school experience
Yeah,
was.
well, maybe it might help you. It might help you because the elements in here are exploited enough and made fun of enough. Certainly the whole thing with jocks and the preppies and the mean girls. And I'll tell you what, I don't think Mean Girls would exist if it wasn't for Heather's,
No, yeah, I think
because
you're right. I
I
think you're
I
right.
think that it was. I wouldn't say the movie was, Tina Fey stole that when she wrote the script, but I would say that it was definitely used as a springboard.
It was clearly a heavy influence, I
Yeah,
think.
even down to what you mentioned earlier, which was they had their own language, and
Hmm.
in both Mean Girls and what's the other one, the Alicia Silver's Clueless.
Clueless.
Uh, yeah, they had their own language, and that's something that Tina Fey has used with her movies, which is a cool element because it's a fictitious language that she's come up with for different terms, and whether it's what's your damage or whatever, it's it's a real fun element to her movies. And again, she used the Mean Girls very effectively, you know, and there are, unfortunately, that's one of the bad sides of high school. I don't know what it is sometimes with teen girls, but they seem to like really want to like destroy other girls that are threats to them or they consider
I think
threats.
you could just say teenagers are insecure regardless of their
Well,
gender.
and they're also sometimes sometimes they're over the top. Sometimes they're over the top mean to each other too. But hey, it's part of the growing up and part of the, unfortunately. And some are much kinder than others, thankfully. So, but yeah, and I did actually, I've got a whole thing of backgrounds of a lot of this has actually been released on so many different different material, whether it's VHS, DVD, it's laser disc, whatever. There's been a lot of cool covers and a lot of cool releases for it, but yeah, like I said, it's not, you are correct. It's not like, I would not necessarily put it in AFI's, top 100 films or something that you have to see, but I would put it in a top 100 in the sense of it's a good movie. It's a good fun.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to classify it as definitely a 2 thumbs up,
Yeah, absolutely.
but like, not in the realm of Kubrick's 2001.
Oh, no, but at the same time, what I would say is that, for like, if you were doing, say you were doing a top 10 high school movies, I would easily put it up there in
Oh yeah,
in
totally.
top 10 high school movies to see. And again, a fun one. I mean, so yeah, I would highly recommend this to anyone looking for a good fun movie. It's you got to see it. And the
Although I
croquet.
might suggest seeing some of the feel good teen movies first.
Yeah,
Again, like, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles.
yeah. Breakfast Club, even Breakfast
And
Club
this
is,
hits a lot better after those.
yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, Breakfast Club was one of the Breakfast Club was probably one of the first high school movies I saw that really gave like it gave like a lot of props to the high school kids going through all of the crap that they had to go through on a daily basis, both with cliques and with asshole teachers. And I mean, because they were getting bullied by the teacher. That teacher was such a jerk, which was one of the real fun elements of that movie, is how how much they managed to turn the tables on him at different points in the movie. But yes, and back to Heather's again. Like I said, I highly recommend it. So I think we both can say easily that we recommend the
Oh
movie,
yeah,
right?
totally. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I know you definitely seem to be on the thumbs up side, you said, and I highly, I'd give it 3 if I could for high school, at least for high school movies anyway. But yeah, quite enjoyable. So if you haven't seen this, folks, you definitely need to. It's I think it's again, maybe it's too much for you, depending on what you're you could be somebody that was so traumatized by your high school experience that it's too much for you, but it might make it easier too. Yeah,
Yeah, if you're looking for a truly dark comedy,
yeah,
this fits the bill.
yes, absolutely. Um, Probably would be a fun one even around Halloween. It's not a horror movie per se, but it's got some. I don't know, like I said, I love the jargon. I love the language that's in there. I love the crazy groups that are in there. The just how everything is is unfolded. It's quite enjoyable. So
I think we've made our point.
yeah, I do too. I definitely do, and I think it's again we've already talked about it's if you're gonna watch it, be prepared, be aware. It's definitely dark, but I think it's dark and fun, and I enjoy a good dark comedy. so, so but yeah, so this one I actually pulled this one up for my pick from again based on a recommendation. by Vicky. Thank you, Vic. And Dom, next week, it's all going to be on you. You're going to have to come up with a good one.
Yep, I will. I'm
And
already
I know
thinking
you
about
will.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you let me know. And but folks, we hope you enjoyed listening to us. Leave that like and subscribe. We always have to say that. And you know,
And
please,
give
if
us
you,
some suggestions.
but yeah, again, yeah, we do need suggestions. We've had a few people that have been really good about offering us a suggestion, but we could use a lot more. So keep them coming. I mean, you know, leave it in the comments if you would. We like comments anyway, so please do it. We're enjoying this. You know, we're two film fans. That's all we're doing is talking our movies that we love and enjoy.
Mhm.
So please recommend tell us what you like, what you want to see us talk about. So
And whether you do or not, we'll be back next week with a new movie.
absolutely, absolutely. And again, Dom, the pressure's on you, and I know you'll come up with a good one. So, but yeah, you know, hey, it was fun talking with you, Dom. I
Always.
hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope Vicky enjoyed it. But we'll be here again next week, folks. So tune in to spoiler alert. Take
Exactly.
care. Thanks,
I'll see
Dom.
y'all.
Yeah.